welcome to this week's review. In this week's review we're going to be looking at the Yamaha THR version 2, okay? Now, as you probably know, I owned the version 1 and I spoke very highly of it. It's a fantastic beginner amp. Well, it's not just a beginner's amp, it's a really good beginner's amp anyway, but it's also, you know, for people like myself, intermediate, advanced players, or, you know, do it professionally as well. It's a fantastic amp. But obviously things improve over time. You know, Yamaha brought out the version 2, which is this one sat on top of the Marshall here. So this lovely thing up here. And there's obviously some improvements, okay? Now I think there's some fantastic improvements, and I also think there's one flaw with this amp, okay? And I'll explain what that is as we go through the video. But a lot of it's very positive, okay? So the Yamaha THR, this is the version 2, and this is the 10 watt version, okay? It's called 10, but it's actually 20 watts, okay? So you're getting slightly more power. The previous one was 10, I believe, and it was 10 watts. This one is called the THR10 version 2, but it's actually 20 watts, okay? So you're getting slightly more power, which is a good thing. There's now more options available as well. There's a 30 watt version of this, you know, which is obviously going to be much louder. Why did I not go for that one? I think for me, this is not a gigging amplifier, okay? And I don't think the 30 watt version is a gigging amplifier either. It's just too much for me. For a practice amp, I thought the THR10 version 1 was fantastic anyway. So a bit of extra power for the 20 watt, you know, this version is enough, okay? So I thought the 10 was good, so with the extra bit of power, it's going to be good. I didn't need that 30 watt, okay? And it also took the price range up a little bit higher as well, which I'll talk about in a little bit later on. Okay, what's the positives about this? What's the differences between the last amp and this amp, okay? Now, if you remember the first range on the THR version 1, there was multiple choices, and there's still multiple choices in terms of the amps. You can have the, as I said, the THR10, you can have the 31, there are multiple choices. But before, there used to be different colours. I don't know if you remember, there used to be like a blues version, a metal version, and the original sort of yellowy sort of coloured version, which is very similar to this one. They've done away with that now. You have all of those amps built into the one unit, which is fantastic, because I think the price of the last amps, you know, they're not cheap amps. They're not cheap at all. So if you wanted the blues amp and you wanted the metal amp, before you had to just buy, you know, each of those amps, which that would rack up, and you know, I wouldn't do that, and I don't think many people would do that, buy the blues one, the metal one, and the original one. That's just going to add up to, you know, a silly amount of money, probably £600-700, if not more. And if you're going to spend that sort of money, you'd probably go and buy a Fender lovely, you know, Fender combo amp or something, you know. So yeah, this now has all of those amps within this one package, okay? Now it comes with, you get an app, which is actually really fantastic. I've had a really good play around with this, and I would show you the app, but unfortunately I'm using my phone to do the videoing, and the app is on my phone. It is fantastic. It connects very quickly up to the amplifier, and that's the first big point and the first big change. This is now Bluetooth. If you had the old version you used to have to plug in a little 3.5 connector, plug it to your phone, and if you'd lost a little adapter that you get if you're an iPhone user, that little white adapter, if you lost that, you're out of business. And that happened to me, okay, and that was frustrating. It happened to me at an event. I forgot my little adapter, and then it's like a flap, and trying to find that adapter, pain in the bum, okay? So now it's all Bluetooth, which is fantastic, which means that you can connect your phone up, play your backing tracks from your phone, and to the Yamaha, or like I've got it set up today, I've connected up to my MacBook, and then it's just connected up via Bluetooth, and then it's connected to the THR, so wirelessly, okay? That's fantastic. That's a great feature. So that's an improvement, okay? So no longer have that. Still got a phono socket, so you've still got the headphone socket if you want to plug in for some quiet practice on an evening. You know, you don't want to annoy the neighbours, don't want to annoy your wife or your partner or whatever. You can still plug in, you know, the headphones, which is another great feature. That was on the original version anyway. But you know, I've not tried that, so I don't know if I can't say if it's any more superior version of it, but it sounded good on the first one anyway, so I'm sure it's very similar, okay? The biggest change, and this is an option, okay? The option now is that you can go for the THR, just version 2, or II as they put it on there, okay? You can go for that, THR10II, or, you know, the version 2 basically. You've now got an option to go normal or wireless, okay? Now if you go wireless, you'll get a built-in transmitter, which is built into the Yamaha THR, into the amp, which is built into this one. I went wireless because why not? I'm a full-time guitarist. I want the best available to me, yeah? So I don't see the point in skimping on things like that when you want the best. So yeah, I went wireless, okay? So you get this little wireless pack, if you can see that on there. And if I unplug that, just to show you. So this is basically the Line 6. It's not a review of the Line 6 Relay G10, which is what this is. But this, if you pay a little bit extra, this was £80 on top of the cost of the amp. And you get the wireless one, okay? So you need to buy. So just make sure, if you're going to go for the wireless one, you make sure that you buy the THR10IIW, okay? Which means it's the wireless version. Slightly more expensive. You'll notice the price will hike up a little bit, but slightly more expensive. But you are getting the transmitter and the receiver, okay? So this is £80 on top as well, okay? So you can start seeing this is racking up a little bit now. This is what I'm going to talk about a little bit later when I said about the flaw that I think with this amp. Yeah, so that's it, okay? So you plug that into your guitar, and very cleverly you give that a second, and you get a green, and then we're connected, okay? We have sound, which is how cool is that, okay? I think it also goes into a sleep mode as well, so if I pop this on the wall and I don't play it for, you know, I don't know, half an hour or so, I think the amp goes into a sleep mode to save the battery, which is also a very great feature. But I just love that. I mean, I'm not connected to any wire. The worst thing ever, as you probably know as a guitarist, is to be tethered to anything, you know. You get up, you got your lead in, you pull your lead out, you trip over your lead. It's just a horrible situation, yeah. So to be wireless is fantastic, to be not connected to the amp. The other great feature as well on this amp is to do with this wireless thing as well. You can now charge the amp, okay. This is what I'm doing now. I've done this now. I've powered that up, I've been charging for maybe a few hours. It's now running off its own internal battery. This battery will recharge. And that is a fantastic step up, I would say. In the last one, you used to put like a shitload of batteries in there. You used to put like 6, 7 batteries in the back of it. And, you know, it wouldn't last very long really at all. But now it's a rechargeable, I think it's like a lithium battery. It's a rechargeable battery, which makes it, you know, never plus for this. So this is stepped up. This is definitely stepped up. And these extra features make a big difference, okay? Yeah, I mean, what else is new? So you've got the app, which is fantastic. The app will allow you to dive in a bit deeper. So if you're like me, you like to tweak your effects, you like to add in some reverb, change the reverb, whether you want a plate, you want a spring reverb, your delays, you want a dotted eighth. You can mess around with all the settings, and you get that all from the functionality of the app. And it is a fantastic app. It works really, really well. Connects really quickly to the amp. One thing I will say, one problem I had, not a problem, just me not, you know, straight out of the box, excited to get it going. I didn't read the manual. What you need to do, if you do go for the wireless one, make sure you pop this wireless receiver into the top of the amp for at least 10 seconds before you start playing. And it will flash and it will go green, and when it's green you can take it back out and you can also plug that in your guitar, and then you're ready to rock and roll. I jumped the stage, plugged it straight in the guitar thinking, it says green but it's not working, and just didn't connect to the amp, okay? So that's just one little tip. Don't jump the gun like me, be excited, maybe read the manual, or just make sure you do that. If you're having any issues, that's probably what it is. One thing also to say is that this little receiver here will charge. When you pop it back into the input socket of the amp, it flashes and it's charging. So how cool is that? Okay, so not only does it's now wireless, you can now charge the receiver by plugging it into the top of the amp. Alright, so I've talked enough, I feel. Let's just hear what this sounds like, okay? So this was just a lovely clean sound I've set up with a nice amount of sort of plate reverb. Just have a listen, okay? So that's a lovely clean sound with, you know, decent amount of reverb on there as well. Now I've done a previous video on the version 1 of this, and you'll see like how I like to set these up, and nothing's changed. So I use like, there's about 5 banks on this like there was on the original, and I use bank 1, which is my clean sound with, you know, a lovely amount of reverb, just a really inspiring tone. You know, it sounds great on a Strat or anything single coil. And then I use number 2 to be my clean with a bit of delay and any effects I want to add on, like chorus and things like that, or tremolo, anything like that. That's my bank number 2. My bank number 3 is like a crunchy sound, like a breakup sound, like a clean on the edge of breakup sound. My bank number 4 is my lead sound, and my bank number 5 is something special, okay? So it could be like a lead sound with like a loaded delay, or, you know, it sounds like I'm in a cave, or it's just something really special. And that's what I use. And there is actually, I think, a special setting on this amp. It's actually called special, I think it is. And it just gives it like a, you know, slightly different sound. But yeah, that's how I set these amps up, and I've done exactly the same on this one. I spent the time, probably spent, I don't know, maybe half an hour or so dialing it in. Didn't take long at all. Dialed it in, and I've got it saved in the presets, okay? So that was the clean number 1. That's got the reverb on it. Excuse me while I just step up just a second, just to make sure I'm on the right channel. So this is number 2, okay? So you can now you can hear I've got the delay, okay? let's have a listen, just for example, let's have a listen to putting a little bit of tremolo on there, okay? As always, we can manually dial this in, so we can use the very hands-on, if you're very organic, very hands-on approach like me, you like to sort of dig in, use the knobs on top of the amp to control it, or, as I said, you can use your phone and use the phone app, okay, which is also fantastic. But yeah, let's have a listen to some of the tremolo, so... Obviously you can change the rate of the tremolo, and as I said, that app will allow you to dig in a bit deeper and really sort of have fun with it and just really dial in the parameters that you want. It sounds great, you know, all the effects. If you know the THR range, you'll know the effects are fantastic. The chorus, flanger, phaser, tremolo, they just all sound really great and really inspiring amp to, you know, to play through. Yeah, definitely check one out, okay? So let's hear some of the lead tones, okay? And then I'm going to talk to you about that little floor, I think. So here's the lead tone, so I'm just going to go across onto maybe a bit more of a lead high gain tone now. So one thing to say as well, when we said about those other amps, you've got the different options. You've got the boutique option, you've got the modern option, and then sort of the normal version. You can flip between them, okay? So you get different coloured light for the different modes. I think blue is boutique, and then there's a green light, and there's different lights and a red light, I think, for the modern one. I think this is on the boutique. You can even change the cabinets if you want 212 cab, a 412 cab. It's very, very cool. So okay, so that's an inspiring tone, okay? Yeah, so that's my gain sound. I'm going to go across to 5, see what I put into 5. Tilt the head to Van Halen there, so yeah, I think I've got a flange or something going on in the background of that. I think that's what I set up as my sort of special sound, and that's on bank 5. And obviously that's just my sounds and how I've set it up. I might tweak it a little bit. I've only had this amp probably about a week or so now. I'll probably tweak it and mess about with it and probably change ever so slightly, but that's my sort of the way I set my amp up. And you guys can do it however you want, and there's so many effects and sounds you can set up, and the fact that it's programmable obviously makes this a very, very useful amp. Who is this for? Okay, so who is this for? Is it for the beginner guitarist? Yes, I think so. It's very sort of intuitive to use. You don't need to use the app if you just really don't, you know, not into technology, not into using apps and stuff. You can just do everything organically on top of the amp. It's great for practice. Yeah, it's really great for practice. It's loud enough to, you know, maybe take this out and just, you know, have a jam with your friends. I wouldn't say it's loud enough to gig. I definitely wouldn't. Even I wouldn't say the 30. I haven't tried the 30, but from what I've seen on reviews and things, I wouldn't say the 30 is also giggable. Yeah, so it's for everybody really. It's very, very useful. You can buy it if you want to keep the cost down a little bit. You can buy it without the wireless pack. So I like having the options. Okay. Now here's to that floor. So it's not really a floor. It's not a design floor. So don't think it's anything like that because this is designed fantastically well. I saw a really cool picture as well recently of this bit taken apart into all its pieces. A really cool picture on the Yamaha website. You can check it out. And you can see all the engineering that goes into this amp, which is fantastic and it's really cool. So it's not a design flaw. The amp is fantastic. It's built solidly. It's reliable, and I love the amp. Okay. What I think the flaw is the price. Okay. That's me being honest. Why did I buy it if I didn't think the price is too much? Well, because I had version 1 and I do love it, and a few of my students that I teach, they also bought the new version 2. And I felt a little bit behind, so I thought, right, I need to upgrade and I want to get, you know, the best I can get. I think it's too expensive. I think it's hit the market. If we compare it to something like a Katana, Boss Katana, you know, fantastic amp, great beginner's amp, that price point's spot on. I think it's like 150, 175 quid or something for that amp. That's spot on. This amp with the wireless function and with the adapter to plug in, the receiver, sorry, you're talking 400 quid plus, okay, which is a lot of money, and I think I wanted it, as I said, and this is my job, so I can you know, that's what I focus on, and this is, I can sort of justify it, I suppose is the word. However, if I was spending £400 sat in your shoes, I would probably go and buy a combo amp or something, a nice little Fender that will take pedals, or something like that, a nice little practice amp, a nice little Black Star amp or a Marshall, because to me that's a giggable amp, okay? We're paying sort of 400 and something pound for this, including the wireless system. This isn't giggable, okay? And that's why there's a difference. The Fender, if you bought a Fender Blues Junior or something around that sort of price range, or you pick something up second hand, that's a giggable amp. You can put some pedals into that and you'll be singing. And if you go to a gig and it's not loud enough, which I've never been to a gig when a Fender's not loud enough, you can literally just dangle a mic in front of it and put it through the front of house PA. So that's my, it's not a design flaw, it's just my, I think in the marketing strategy for Yamaha, I think the price was just slightly too high. It costs what it costs, I suppose, and it's a fantastically built amp, but for me, I feel like it's just a step too far to put it in the beginner's bracket. So, although it's a fantastic amp, I would not recommend this for complete beginners. I would look maybe at sort of the Boss Katana 50, or you know, 10, or whatever the, I'm not sure what the models are on that exactly, but that would be my, you know, that's where I would aim for really with that if you're a beginner guitarist. If like me, you just want one and you know, you really want one, then of course go and get one. They are fantastic, but just bear in mind, I said they hold a hefty price tag, and just look in the market at that sort of price, 400, 450. Look at what else you can get that might be more suitable for you. Guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that review. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on another review very soon.